Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the launch webinar. My name is Katie Ewan, and I am the marketing manager here, and also I was the project manager on the launch program. So for those of you who don't know, GradLeaders is our relatively new brand. It's the result of a merger between two companies, MBA Focus and CSO Research, and we've been in the industry for over 30 years. So today we partner with thousands of career centers and employers who use our technology to manage their entire career development and campus recruiting process. Today we will be showcasing our new launch program, which has led to a 40% increase in student engagement while also improving the career discovery process. So today we are going to be talking about the Dartmouth College pilot that we did. This sort of started the whole launch program, and they were a really innovative partner in helping us kick off this initiative. We'll talk about what launch is. We will show you a task template example, how you can build your own task template using Career Tracker, how everything works in the system, some tips and tricks, some enhancements that Dartmouth utilized that are optional but will enhance the experience. And then we'll go over some marketing materials around launch, so how you can roll this out to your students. And we'll take questions and do a question and answer segment. So with that, I have on the call with me today Rog Woolsey. He is the Senior Assistant Dean and Director of the Center for Professional Development at Dartmouth College. So I would like to hand it over to him.
Thank you. And I also want to thank not only Katie, but as well as GradLeaders for this wonderful year. I'm going to start out with a quote. One of my favorite quotes is by the former Hall of Fame coach of UCLA, and that is that failure to prepare is preparing for failure. And I think of a story, I think of my upbringing in Southern California. I was telling Katie the story a while ago, that I grew up in Los Angeles, right on the coast. And from what I remember, I was always surfing since I was a little kid, and really picked it up probably in middle school and then high school. But what was really interesting, I was always the last one to get in the water. And my friends would always tease me, Rog, come on in, come on in. But I would just stand there and just look and assess the currents, the breaks, the swells, really trying to keep track of the wind and how it was moving. I also looked for obstacles, if there were rocks in the way or if there was a pier. And for me, what I was doing was reducing my uncertainty. This analogy really relates to how we manage career education today, and that's reducing uncertainty for our young men and women. When people ask me, you know, what is my career development theory? I don't have a career development theory. My theory is uncertainty reduction. The more we are engaged with our students, the more information they are getting. And the more information they get or they receive, the more confident they are with their postgraduate plans. And I think all of us define that as employment, graduate school, a fellowship, or service. But we're also always looking at, in our field, obstacles, either external or internal, such as the job market, financial markets, what's going on with Brexit, DACA, for example, or things that are going on internal to us. And one of the things that we're always concentrating on is the new generation of college students. And what are the challenges of this new generation? The I generation or Generation Z, whatever you prefer to title them, they are different. The millennials have all of them have graduated by now. And so now we're faced with this new generation who is much more pluralistic. And what I mean by that is they have multiple identities. And with those multiple identities, such as, you know, their ethnicity, it could be race, their affinity towards different, you know, with different groups, is they want information delivered to them at any time and anywhere. And that makes it difficult for career educators today when we rely on email, we rely on our websites. Are we tailoring our messages to the identities of our students? Because they want each and every one of those identities to be unique and to be oftentimes communicated. But here's the thing. We also need to learn how to disaggregate content so we're specifically communicating with our students. And that has been a challenge. I'll go back to that a little bit later. So remember that on the disaggregation of content. We also feel pressure in career education from a number of different areas, specifically from our parents, students, employers, and sometimes senior administrators. We all feel this pressure. The cost of tuition has increased, and a complement to that has also been financial aid debt. I think we're anywhere between $1.5 and $2 trillion nationally in financial aid debt. And so parents and students want a return on investment. And I think all of us who have listened to or read the studies by the UCLA admissions surveys, as well as the Higher Education Research Institute and Pew Research that comes out, is that students and parents are picking institutions of higher education based on outcome. We also feel pressure from our own institutions. Some of us rely on rankings, for example, and outcome data to support those rankings. Our admissions officers, when they go around the country or around the world promoting our institutions, want good outcomes. Lastly, our employers and the government. Employers have stated recently through a Gallup poll that when they surveyed CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies, 11%, those CEOs, only 11% of college grads just about a year and a half ago were college ready or job ready. That means 89% of our students are not job ready, which is disturbing. But also the government is putting pressure on career educators today as well to make sure that when we're looking at the cost of tuition and the financial aid debt, that students are walking away $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in debt, that they have a good job and that they're not underemployed, which we were dealing with during our recessionary periods. It's really interesting, though, even though we're not in a recessionary period, that when the job market and we see low unemployment, it puts more pressure on us to make sure that our students stay competitive, meaning which we have to make sure they're even more job ready for a job market where we're seeing lower unemployment. Moving on, next slide, Katie, is I met with Jack Gaynor, the CEO, president of GradLeaders, 2 years ago when I was in Austin, Texas at a GradLeaders conference. And we spoke probably for at least an hour, maybe more, and then we ran into each other a couple of times. And I was talking to Jack about the current state of affairs in career education. All the platforms, GradLeaders, Handshake, Purple Briefcase, Simplicity, yes, they provide increased opportunities for students to apply for internships and jobs. But what was missing was really a systematic approach to preparing students for postgraduate success, and that there was no platform doing that. And I think one of the things that I had found disturbing that I was sharing with Jack was that when I go to NACE and I go to the vendor fair, I see all these new technologies or existing technology and services, but they all come with a cost, and some price themselves completely out of the market. If there was a way that we can consolidate these technologies and services under an umbrella that would help in a systematic way to prepare our young men and women for postgraduate success, then we have found an excellent formula in making sure that our outcomes increase, especially for our young men and women. Jack, who had just recently, I think, had 2 of his kids just graduate, I really consubstantiated with this and shared his perspective on all this as well. So moving on, we had started a curriculum here at Dartmouth. When I arrived 5 years ago, Dartmouth was really looking to rebrand, reorganize, and restructure former career services. And one of the things that I had pitched is that we really need to create a curriculum in career education that begins the first year. And so we created a program called the Professional Development Accelerator, referred to as the PDA. And it was with intent that we use the concept accelerator. We really want to accelerate career education within that first year, as much as we possibly could. And so we did. We launched, and we had a different platform at the time. We weren't using GradLeaders. And we saw about 47% of our first years, beginning in that initial inaugural program, take advantage of the first task before classes even started in the month of August, as a matter of fact. But the way that we designed the program is that students would complete tasks during all 4 terms at Dartmouth, leading all up to their sophomore summer when they have to take classes here. Unfortunately, the platform that we were using at the time did not have good data management. The metrics were not reliable. They were not consistent. And it was really difficult for us to clean and scrub the data out of the platform that we're using. It takes a high percentage of an FTE to actually do that. The most important thing when we talk about engagement to reduce uncertainty is you want to sustain that engagement. Although close to 50% that first year, our inaugural year, 50% of the students, close to 50% of the students actually completed their first task before they set foot on campus, we would see throughout that first term an attrition. So students got busy and their engagement levels began to decline. Next slide, please. We partnered with GradLeaders. We met, like I said, I met with Jack, but then our teams had met in Columbus at some point in July, about a year and a half ago, just to talk about what we were doing with our professional development accelerator and the assistance that they could provide us as well. And it's really interesting as you look at this. We called it Launch. It was the first iteration of Launch, which Katie's really going to talk about. We called it Career Tracker, but it was the first iteration of Launch. And what I really liked about what Katie and Ryan and Jack and the rest of the team at GradLeaders created was a deductive approach to career education as you look at your computer screen right now. That students would come in and go through, who am I? Do self-assessments. And so they built in self-assessments into the GradLeaders platform. So for example, students were able to take that first term, the 12 personality types in DISC and other self-assessments. But they provided other functionality to walk students through the career education process as they narrowed their focuses down. For example, the additional functionality besides the self-assessments was Job Pulse. ONET by Burning Glass, again, consolidating other technologies under one umbrella, that being GradLeaders. Circle is something I really want to concentrate on here for just a minute. We were talking about disaggregating of content specific to the needs or the identities of our students on our college campuses to confront the pluralistic nature of our students. One way of doing that, which would take a percentage of your FTE or FTEs, is to go into GradLeaders and you can segment market by major in your GradLeaders platform, etc. But it takes time to do that. And we always don't want to just send out a general email about opportunities or workshops to all students because honestly we're going to get complaints that it doesn't really relate to their needs or their interests. I was introduced by GradLeaders, specifically Katie, to a new technology called Circle. Circle, what it does is remember all the information that's in GradLeaders in your platform, in your GLCC platform, your workshops, your collaborative program, your internships and jobs, etc., are all housed in there for students to apply for or to RSVP. What Circle does is it's an aggregator. It goes into GLCC and aggregates that content, but yet it disaggregates that content based on students' preferences in their profile. So when they go in to fill out their student profile on GradLeaders platform, what industries they're interested in, what geographic locations they're interested in. What it does is it disaggregates everything in there specific to their needs. So if you have a student who is interested in nonprofit work, all they're going to see is nonprofit programming, internships, and jobs. They won't say anything about banking and consulting. So Circle is a really big hit on our campus, and it increased open rates, click-throughs by over 50%. So we're really happy with that. It also put in task lists and also workshops and collaborative programming as part of the pilot that we ran with them. We had 2 groups that we worked with. When we launched the program in August, we launched it to our first years, as we do every year. We got about 51, 52% of the students enter the pilot program. And the other group was a controlled group. And these were PDA students who were not engaged in the program. They were sophomores, juniors, and seniors. These are students that we had lost, remember, through that attrition that I was talking about. And we invited them to come back into the program. Some did, which was great, but some didn't. So it offered us an opportunity to compare the two groups, our controlled group and our pilot group. Next slide, please. So what we found was really interesting is, besides seeing a 40% increase in overall engagement, I think the same number can also be applied to a 40% sustained engagement, which was really important in making sure that the students were continuously using the program. And some additional notes on this is that, you know, the platform that we're using before, I was talking about the fact that 3 or 4 years ago, we were having difficulty with our metrics. There was no consistency or reliability. The other thing that GradLeaders did is they partnered with another company called Looker. And Looker is a data management tool that you can get your hands on through GradLeaders. And it goes in there. If you're getting information from Banner, for example, it can run reports not only on class year, but also on major, academic division, diversity, affinity groups. So when we started analyzing the data from this first-year pilot with Launch, we really looked at who are the students that are actually utilizing Launch, our PDA Launch. And we're able to look at different groups that weren't as engaged, and we're able to target market them very specifically to motivate them to be engaged in the program. It could be our Latina group, it could be our group of athletes. Again, whatever data you're putting into your GradLeaders platform, Looker will run those reports. Additionally, Looker also looks at profile completion rates, task completion rates, who attended specialized workshops that were related to the program, to Launch, any additional collaborative programming events, etc., as well as who applied for jobs and who was also granted interviews for positions for internships and jobs. In conclusion, it was, I think, a very successful pilot year. Next slide, please. And what we did learn from all of this, and this was really robust, is when we launched the program, if you look at your string, you look at your screen, you're seeing a number of different tasks that were in the program. I informed my team back in August last year, and Katie had informed all of us as well, is let the students decide for themselves what works and what doesn't, because they're our audience. I think as administrators sometimes we manipulate what we want students to know, thinking that that's what's best for them based on our expertise and ethos. But we really wanted to see if this pilot's going to stick and what tasks would stick and what tasks that we would probably have to adapt or basically eliminate. And GradLeaders came to campus. We did a few focus groups with our students that were in the program, some that were and some that were not. We also did surveys with Net Promoter Scores after various tasks to see whether or not these tasks were something that really the students felt that really provided them with the additional assistance in their career education. So in conclusion, we are very satisfied, extremely satisfied with the performance. I think anytime you get a 40% increase and sustained increase in overall engagement, not only with the first years, but the sophomores and the juniors and seniors that re-engaged in the program is a success. What we've also learned through this pilot is that to minimize the task list, so that way it's easier for students to go through it. And because of that, it's also being able to adapt those tasks based on your institution's needs. So for example, some of you are semester schools. Here at Dartmouth, we're year-round, and we're 10-week terms. And so we really wanted to make sure that we had a program that really addressed the 10-week term as well as our breaks in between terms. So that way we can accommodate the students at any time, anywhere. I have to say, based on my analogy, I started out with my surfing story. This was an excellent ride. It was a great ride. And I think that it's really important that we prepare our students as best we can. We cannot do it just relying on traditional workshops, on resumes and cover letters and expecting students to come to us. We need technology to support us, and that's exactly what GradLeaders launch program is all about. So I'll just say this, hang 10 everybody, and I'm going to hand it back over to Katie to talk a little bit more about the actual launch program. Katie?
Yes, Raj, thank you so much. So just to recap what Raj discussed, the launch program task templates are powered by our Career Tracker tool. So this is all editable within the Career Tracker module, and you already know this from what Raj has just shared with us, but it does provide students with a holistic career exploration process. It increases engagement with the Career Center by 40%. It helps students find right-fit careers and get hired. And the best part for you is that it requires minimal work from your staff. So Raj talked a lot about the big picture and impact, and I'm going to focus a little bit more on the details of how you can set up Launch. So Launch offers tasks for job-seeking students. It's housed in our GradLeaders Career Center platform, and it includes links to various other tools and resources within and outside of the system. So I'll get into the details later of how you can provide resources and links to students. Raj mentioned the DISC assessments. That was a personality assessment that was critical in Dartmouth's process for helping students explore their identity. So you have the option to link out to separate assessments, or you can also link to other parts within your system. It's designed to take students through a guided career exploration process, beginning with assessments and ending with placement in their dream job or dream field. We also include suggested deadlines, reminders, career content, and much more. So how to utilize Launch. This is a completely free add-on to all of you. You can use the templates exactly as we have created them, and I'll provide details before we hop off this call of where you can access them in your system. So you have the option to use them exactly as we've created them, vetted by our process with Dartmouth, or you're welcome to modify the template, which I'll show you how to do. You can also just create a completely new one from scratch if you have a different way or a different process in how you like to manage career discovery and job placement for your students. So I am going to hop over into our demo environment so I can just show you all of this live, but we can also provide the screenshots, and we have several training materials that show you kind of slide by slide how you can do this. So I am currently in our demo, and I'm on the admin side. So I'm going to walk you through how you can build your own template and where to access what we have released to you. So you go to Other Admin Activities, and then Career Tracker Templates. And then the template that we have made available to all of you is called Launch Program Success Steps. So you will see that along with any other templates that you've created. You can see all of my other test accounts that I've created in here. So you'll want to go ahead and click Launch Program Success Steps. And then this is from the admin view. So once you come in here, you can keep it as it is. You can click Template Settings, and this is where you'll be able to control who will see this template. So as Raj discussed, there are several different skill sets and tasks that they take different students to based on class year. So you might have a different template for your first years versus your sophomores, juniors, and seniors. You can come in here and check off who you would like to see this template. You can also get a little bit more granular with it. You can do it by program type. So maybe there's a certain major that you have templates for. We've just created sort of a more general one, so you can adjust it and use it in a more general way, but the option is here to make this public to different majors, different class years, anything that fits with your program. And then from here, this is also where you can control the publish date. So for publish date, you can come in and click the calendar and set when you would like to publish the template. Just an important note, you have access to the template, but it has not been published until you come in here and make it public to your students by entering a publish date. So you do have access to what I'm showing you, but it has not been published to your students until you come in here and set a publish date. You can also set your expiration date here in the same way. So you'll just click the calendar, and you can come in and edit when you would like this to expire. Additionally, another important thing that you'll want to choose when you're coming into the initial setup is determining whether you want to use calendar or offset as your default due date type. So here we've done offset. Basically, this just means that a task will be published a set amount of days after a prior task is completed. So to give you an example, think about it as I want my students to schedule an advising appointment 14 days after they have filled out their profile. So that's one way that you can separate the cadence of tasks, or a calendar due date just publishes a task on a set calendar day. So you may want your students to complete their profile by August 15th of 2018. So you have options here. We have set it up as an offset, but you certainly can come in and make it calendar dates if that is more aligned with how you operate. So I'll hop back over to the template. So then from here you have lots of options with how you can edit it. You can add new section headers. So our template is reflective of the process that Rog walked you through. So learn about yourself, assess the job market, understand career skills, narrow your search, choose your career, and get hired. You are not limited to that. You can delete the headers that we've created by clicking the trash can icon to the right. You can add a new section header. And then you can also change the color. So you can pick your color. There's lots of options here. So you have the option to customize as you see fit. You can add your own tasks. So I'll show you what this looks like from the candidate due date, or from the candidate file, but this is where you would put your task in, so complete profile. You can describe the task, so I'll show you kind of what that looks like on the student side. This is where you choose what section the task falls under. So obviously this one would fall under assess the job market, but you can organize that however you see fit. URL, this is what I talked about at the beginning. So you can either link to an external source. So let's say there's an assessment that you want your students to take. You can pop that URL in here. And then the URL display text will just say, click here to go to your assessment, or something along those lines. You also have the option to put in an internal link. So maybe when you want students to complete their profile, you put the link in that takes them to the candidate profile. So we've done that within the template for you. I'll show you how you can edit that if you want to make changes. And then this is where, at the beginning in our template settings, we identified that we were using the offset start date. And so here is where you would say, here's how many days after the start date I want this task to be viewable to my students. You may put 4, and then reminder date offset is how many days after or before the start date you would like a reminder to go out. So as a best practice, I like to put reminders in 2 days prior to the due date offset. That just gives students time to complete any tasks within a couple of days. That way they're able to check off their tasks as complete. So we've set it up as 2 days after the start date as a default, but again, you can always edit that. So I'll just come in here and show you, here's everything that we've input for you. You can certainly come in, edit this if you don't like any of it, We put some descriptive text in here. Some feedback that we got from students was that they wanted to better understand why they were being asked to complete these tasks. So we try to do our best to incorporate that feedback from the students here in the task description and explain to them why and how long it will take them. That way it sets the expectation and they know, okay, if I'm in between classes, I might have 5 minutes to fill out my basic job seeker profile. We've put this in the proper section header under Learn About Yourself, and then this is an example of an internal link. So here I have pulled the URL for where students will be able to go to their profile. So once they click on that task, it will take them right to where they can create their profile. And then the text in here, you can edit that as well, but we've put in here, click here to go to your profile. We've got the offset due dates, and then since this is the first task, there's no, it's just 1 day after the start date that this is going to become public. And it's the first task, so we didn't do any reminders for this one. But again, you can come in here, you can click any of these to edit them. You can see in this example, we're linking to an external URL, which takes them to an assessment powered by the weather. So you can come in, you can delete them if they're not applicable to you. You can modify them as needed. Another easy way that you can set this up, if you go to Sort Tasks, under this view, this allows you to drag and drop very easily. So you can change the order, you can pull entire chunks. It's just a little bit faster way to move around your tasks, reorder them as you wish. And you'll notice here that it says due date none. That's because we've set this as offset. If you put in a calendar due date, then that would appear here. So don't be alarmed if you see that. It just appears that way because we have set offset due dates. If you do not want to use this template at all, you have the option to delete it. You'll just click Delete Template. Pretty straightforward. You always have the option to delete templates after you've created them, but you will get a reminder that says, do you want to continue? You're going to get rid of all the associated tasks as well. So as a best practice, we don't recommend deleting, but you could just not publish it to your students, and it would show up in your pending template. So you can see at this tab, we've got 7 pending. These are ones that we've created but haven't yet published to students. Another important thing to note is if you would like to completely create a new template, you don't want to use the launch template from GradLeaders. The way that you do that, you go to Next Actions, click Add New Template, and then you recognize this screen. This is your template settings screen. So you can come in here, you can name your template. You can select your publish date. You'll come here and select calendar or offset, and then choose who you would like to see the template. So I'm just going to do some filler text so you can see kind of what this process looks like. You'll click Save, and then you see you have a blank template. So from here, I think it makes the most sense from a process standpoint to add your section headers. So maybe you just want to call this first semester task. Maybe you want to divide it out that way. You can set any color from the selection here. Click Save. And then from there, you can add tasks. So let's say you want them to complete their profile. You don't have to fill in a task description, but you can. I'm putting this under first semester tasks. You can put a URL in, and you could say, click here to go to your profile. And then you'll set your due date or your offset. Let's say I want to remind them 2 days before. So you get a reminder if you don't enter properly. So the reminder date must be after the template publish date. And then lock, this controls whether or not your students can edit the tasks. So I will show you from the student view so you have a better idea of what this looks like. But basically, we recommend that the default, you just keep it to no. I think one thing we learned from the Dartmouth pilot was that students like to be able to have the flexibility to edit things. So they might want to go in and add a reminder within the task that you've created. So you can keep lock set to no if you want them to be able to go in and edit, or if you have a set process that you don't want any student to be able to change, you just want them to be able to access it and follow the task, then you can change lock to yes. And then you hit save. You'll see my task shows up here. As a quick shortcut, you can copy tasks. So you can click the little duplicate item and you can copy a task. So let's say you have a really long list and they're all going to go over under the same section header. This is an easy way to save yourself a couple minutes so you don't have to individually edit that per each task. You can come in here and you can edit it and maybe do task number 2, whatever that might be. Put in a URL, put in all this information, save, and work from there. If you are wanting to publish your task immediately, there is a Publish Immediately button on your action menu. You can click that if you are gearing up for the semester, you've put the template in, and you're ready to go. Otherwise, you can control when your template is published by that calendar setting that I showed you. So that pretty much covers everything from the admin perspective. Now I'm going to hop over to the student side just to show you what things look like from their side. And I've seen that we've had a couple questions come through, so I will definitely save some time to address those as well. So on the candidate side, or on the student side, they'll be able to see the templates. It's pretty cool. We've got this dashboard widget called My Tasks, where they can see there's 6 upcoming tasks. So from here, I can go in and I can click on those, or I can go immediately to my task list. So that's a shortcut that will get me to all of the templates. Or I can also go from the home page and I can come to Career Tracker, My Tasks. That will take me to the same location. So there's a couple options, and the dashboard reminders are just a good way to keep these tasks or success steps top of mind for your students. So there's a couple other templates in this test account. Here's the one that we were looking at and the one that we have created for you. So from here, as a student, I've got a couple of options. I can check off a task as completed, and once I check that off, you will see that it populates in my completed items here at the bottom. I'm going to uncheck it just to show you that if I uncheck it, it will come back. And then when we were discussing the deep links, this deep link here, click here to go to your profile, will take me directly to my profile where I can update information as needed. I'm going to pop back over to Career Tracker. Under Career Tracker, My Tasks. And as you can see, we've got kind of a combination here of internal and external links. So click here to go to the 16 Personalities assessment. That's an external link. It opens up into this assessment for them. As a student, I can also change my view. So I can view by section. I can view by due date. That has been very popular. We built that feature around what we heard from Dartmouth students. They wanted to know, they wanted to have a comprehensive view of what was upcoming for them. So we've created this view as well. And then they can also sort by name. So that's just template name. I'm going to go back to our section view. And then because we kept this setting to unlocked, or the lock was set to no, students do have control. You can change that if you'd like. You would just have to go into each task and set it as locked yes. But I can click on this pencil icon, and maybe I want to add in a tag. So here I put job stuff. Maybe I want to add a company or a log, which is just sort of like a note. I can click add company, and then I could type in a company. So this is just sort of for the more self-guided portion of their job search. They can come in and tag or add companies, and then if that company doesn't exist, they can come in and create their own company. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel on that. Come back to my tasks. So I can make edits here as I want. I can also click on this calendar view. Some students like this view. It's connected with all of the other modules in our system. So not only will their tasks show up, but this will also encompass any appointments that they've got with their advisor, any workshops that they might be attending, any events. And once this loads, you'll be able to see the tasks on here, and it will show up color-coded based on the settings from the admin view. If it ever loads, we will take a look at that. And here you can see all, well, it looks like some people have been doing some testing, but you can see all of their appointments and tasks. And I'm going to actually hop ahead to see. So here's a task, and it says attend a mock interview, meet with your advisor, create your resume. So in addition to the coaching appointments and the workshops, they can also see those tasks. I can also, as a student, come in and adjust my settings. So this is set to receive launch steps, yes. You can make this mandatory so that if you're trying to push these templates out as part of your mandatory steps to help place a student in a job, you're going to want to make sure that that default is set to yes. And your CRM can help you with that. And then additionally, they can also email themselves their task list, print it, or export it to a CSV file. So a couple different options there. So that's pretty much it for the student side of it as well. And then as Raj mentioned, Looker, which is one of the tools that we use, can help you track metrics for what students have completed what tasks. You can get down to the granular level of, you know, how many first-year African-American students have completed the assess steps. So it's really as customizable as you want it to be. So from here, I've showed you all of this information live in the live system. So I do want to take just a couple minutes before we get to questions to talk about some of the enhancements that Raj talked about. So if you want to really get the most out of your career tracker and launch templates, here are some of the things that Dartmouth did. So they used the DISC personality assessment. Students found a lot of value in this. There are several free options, but you always also have the option to partner with DISC or with CPP or any of those providers, and you can get a link to pop into the system as well. A lot of the times you can find some pretty high quality free equivalent tests. So one of our favorites is 16 personalities. It's very similar to the Myers-Briggs, but it does offer a free version, and it's written in a way that really is relevant to Generation Z. We also recommend including the soft skills and values survey from the weather. This is another partnership, and it spits out the data in a very comprehensive way so students understand how they can talk about their strengths to employers and how they can make their experiences relevant. So that is another best practice. And then we did work with My Majors students. That was better for first-year students that were looking to figure out what they wanted to major in relation to careers. So if you're going to look into partnering with My Majors, I would encourage early engagement with that tool. It doesn't have as much relevance with students that have already declared a major. I believe Raj also talked a little bit about Circle. This was one of the ways that we made it possible for students to receive communication and reminders about upcoming tasks, in addition to that dashboard widget that I showed you. Circle is very innovative in how they communicate with students, and we tested it out with Dartmouth and found that it is indeed true. They get 3 times the open rates just in the way that they send out email communication. So I know we're already working with a couple of you on the call today with Circle, but you can always ask your CRM for some more information about that. It's an automated email newsletter. We've also have some information on our website, gradleaders.com/circle, CERKL, if you want to get more information about that. We've already discussed Looker. These reports were generated from Looker, so it's a great way to communicate with your stakeholders and show them how the tasks that students are doing, and just to demonstrate the impact that your Career Center is making in student job placement, in the number of workshops they're attending, and in how they are engaged overall with your process. So I know I have thrown a lot at you, but you can find all of this information at gradleaders.com/launch. This is our landing page, so it includes resources for how to use Launch. We've got guides for you with screenshots. We have marketing materials, email templates, social media templates, flyers, pretty much anything you can think of in what you would need to roll this out to your students. There's a guide for how your students can use the system as well, so be sure to check out gradleaders.com/launch for everything that you could need in regards to rolling this out. If you have any additional questions, be sure to go to our School Partner Support Portal. We have everything, not just for Career Tracker, but for any module within our system. We've got guides, videos, best practices, templates, anything you could really think of. It's a great starting point for questions that you might have. And we also have our live chat that's available from the Partner Support Portal. So if you have a quick question, you can always click on Need Help, Start Chat from the support page, and some of our support staff can get to you and answer your questions. Thank you all so much. I'd also like to thank Rog Woolsey for being on this call and for discussing our partnership with all of you. Thanks for tuning in, and be on the lookout for an email from us in the near future. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.